In the borders between Erathia and Eofor lies a narrow strip of a beautiful land called Amadar. This narrow kingdom had won its independence many years before the Restoration Wars, only to finally lose it right before the very end. Almost all known factions had a claim onto this beautiful land. Bracada was often pushing its borders to north, and Amadar was often pillaged by the necromancers of the Desolate Lands. In the north, Avlis elves had claims over the Fair Lands by blood ties. Since conflict would be inevitable, all nations decided to leave Amadar be. No faction dared to provoke the other ones by planning a full invasion. The Poracatian king, Kavin Magnus, was the first to change that. When the elemental lords planned to separate all the elements, thus destroying the entire world, conflux towns sprang up out of nowhere, and the elemental armies were mastering there. The immortal hero, Tarnum, with the aid of the Bracadian king, spent 30 long years of fighting the elemental lords in the elemental planes until he defeated them and destroyed the conflux towns. During these years, the Bracadian crown almost went bankrupt. Supporting this escapade emptied the king's treasuries. When the immortal hero returned, King Kavin Magnus thought he would be repaid for all these expenses, when Tarnum would share all of his knowledge and power over the elements with him. He was wrong, and Tarnum made sure that the powers of the elemental lords would remain secret. To cover his losses, the king invaded Fair Amadar and brought destruction upon the land. Some of the wizards thought this was cruel and unjust, but none would stand against the mighty king's will. None except one. Though a Bracadian herself, a wizard named Emilia couldn't stand by and watch the atrocities of the Bracadian king. Her studies of the forces of nature have rendered her a pacifist and a naturalist. She tried persuading her colleagues to stop this war and leave Amadar alone. It was not long before she was declared a traitor to the Bracadian crown and was banned from its provinces. With nowhere else to turn, she sought refuge in Amadar itself. Emilia found the ruins of the old conflux towns in Amadar and repurposed them in order to win the war against Kavin Magnus. After many battles, she emerged victorious and became Amadar's first queen. And indeed, piece by piece, Amadar was getting its independence from the rest rivaling factions. Many years later, during the reign of Queen Emilia III, Tarnum helped the new nation defeat the elves in the north, ending any claims that Avli had over Amadar. The only thing that stood on Amadar's way was the necromancers of the Desolate Lands. Tarnum had a vision from the ancestors, a dream of a great tree burning. He went searching for the tree, with the aid of two of Amadar's wardens he had befriended over the last years. Tarnum soon found out that the necromancers of the Desolate Lands were planning on burning down the Wall Tree, the wellspring of all life. Not only that, but the undead were also joined by a group of barbarians, calling themselves the followers of war, the one responsible for all this destruction. This tribe was led by a barbarian named King Targor, who patterned himself on the mythical barbarian tyrant who destroyed the wizard kings of Bragadun. Tarnum, who was that barbarian tyrant, managed to capture Targor and with the aid of the Pendant of Total Recall, he showed Targor his memories and all the pain and suffering his rule as the barbarian king brought to the world and himself. After viewing Tarnum's memories and discovering where his actions had taken him, King Targor realized the foolishness of trying to copy the barbarian tyrant. He left to tell War that he wouldn't worship him anymore, but didn't return. War left the Wall Tree, but even without their leader, the necromancers still attempted to destroy it. Tarnum went forth and defeated them, thus saving the Wall Tree. Once the Wall Tree was saved, Tarnum followed War in order to kill him and end this threat once and for all. In the meantime, Amadar recovered from the wounds inflicted by the necromancers and was now a fully free and independent nation at last. Centuries passed, and the elemental laws were long forgotten. However, When Lucifer Cregan set out to burn down the world with the Armageddon's blade, the Elemental Lords returned, this time not to destroy, but to preserve. The Queen of Amadar reluctantly agreed to allow them to use her Haven Towns once again, and thus the conflicts re-emerged. The Armageddon Wars brought destruction upon Amadar and its Queen, and while the end result was favorable for Erathia and Davli, Amadar was scorched by the Cregan's attack, as it was the first target they hit in their attempt to cross into Erathia through Moss Valley. Amadar's Queen died in that offensive, and her kingdom died with her. A few years later, when the Reckoning happened, a descendant of the first Queen of Amadar was rescued by an angel and managed to escape into Axeoth. That girl was no other than Emilia Nightheaven, who later became Queen of the Great Archon. Even though Amadar was no more, its legacy went on with the great deeds of this fair queen. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, make sure you subscribe on this channel and leave a comment below to let me know what other part of Heroes lore you would like to be explored next. Cheers!